Hey folks, just a brief overview. I'm going to cover some of these scrolls. They're documents that are timekeeping related, and some important times that we need to consider is that I'm going to hone in on key phrases that are scattered throughout different volumes. One is when a night when a male child is born, man-child, hashtag man-child, hashtag male child, a reference from Job. Again, another night watch that we need to look at in addition to a night when a man-child is born would be Pesach, Passover. Don't need to be slaughtering any animals today. That is behind us. He that puts his hand to the plow and looks back is not fit for service in the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of our Father. But we have a more sure word of prophecy to which we do well to pay attention to as a light shining in a dark place. And sadly, most people avert their eyes from it and turn away, which is what the adversary did. Hashtag turning away. That's what the adversary did. He turned away after he sought to be equal to the Most High. The one head, the Father, above the one head, Messiah, above the one head that is the man, above the women. And of course, children come from them. So if your local city council is confused, well, you built it. On the 14th day of the first month, Passover, a good time for a night watch. And do know that late in the midnight hour, the Father above, through the Son, commending judgment to the Son, a high priest and a king can indeed turn it around. Yet another time is second Passover. If you have a husbandman that's on a long journey and you've played the whore, and let me help you, you have, know that he comes, returns in the morning. Third hour, third day, hashtag day and hour, hashtag third day, hashtag third hour. There's also a night watch again, which is what I got started talking about. Another night watch that's important or another event that is oriented toward the night is the event of Shavuot. We find that in the apostolic writings. It's not specifically stated that it's a night watch. And yet another one is in the fall of the year, also the evening of the year. Days and years are linked copulative and cumulatively, one being birthed from the other, and they are ordered according to the path of light, hashtag path of light. So just as you have the morning each day and the evening at the end of it, so too in the yearly cycle, you have the morning of the year, spring, and of course the evening of the year, which we call autumn or fall. That night watch Abraham kept, that's what I was talking about, on the first day of the seventh Kodesh, first day of the seventh month. He was praying, get this, that the Father would protect him from the evil beings, the spirits that hold sway over men's hearts. Of course, in the context of the Watchers, and squarely connected to the abominations and lecheries that took place on the shoulder of the hill of Mount Hermon, where the armies of the Assyrian are being gathered to the northern border of Israel as I speak, and you will kindly note that folding faster than promises made one brother to another at profoundprophecy.com, Afghanistan folded. The two are squarely connected, of course. And now we have an unobstructed corridor all the way from North Korea, and every person that I will mention subsequently, every nation and every leader has already, and on numerous locations and numerous instances, supported the Syrian cause to gain the Golan, hashtag Golan Heights, hashtag covenant with death, not Not the least of which is North Korea's Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un, who has already expressed support for Syrian President Bashar Assad, stating that he will send all kinds of support against the Zionist entity. Now, the father was an ally with Hafez Assad, and now the boys are going to have their go at it, and they will be crushed and utterly laid waste. But they're going to have their go, and China's President Xi, also moving on down to Afghanistan, the Taliban, right through Iran, perhaps Syria's closest ally, through Iraq, where Assad is going soon, and then, of course, Syria, and that is your connection, #Kings of the East, right to the North Levant. Now, all the northern armies, including Turkey and Russia and everywhere in between, all of the families of the kingdoms of the north, the Father will bring down as destruction comes from the north, even as he brings destruction from cosmological north, presently residing in the fifth heaven, and the beings, Satan and his messengers, the Grigori, #Grigori, Grigori, and Satan and his messengers, #Satan and his messengers. And they will, of course, be cast down as there's a battle in heaven. And that night watch, again, connected to Abraham praying. Abraham also saw Messiah's day and rejoiced in it also. More on that later as we talk about things like thousands and heads of thousands and one head over thousands, and a reference to the troops that will be gathered together to war. We're going to even find out there's details in the Qumran scrolls as to where Messiah goes, in what order, more details than have been afforded to you by the handlers in your canonical sources and whatnot. If you are new to listening to some of the things you're hearing today, folks, you are admonished to be sober and watch and be vigilant and not be in slumber and not be asleep. The passage, I just feel like, because I know there's some of you guys that are fairly new, some of you we don't know very well, others that are watching this, I've known you for a quarter of a century, since I began sharing about Syria and whatnot, and Assad probably 4 years before he took office. Well, 4 years, 96. The reference to the day and hour that no man knows has nothing to do with the second coming of the Messiah. Otherwise, he wouldn't tell you in the self-same passage just to watch and be sober and vigilant. It has to do with the reference to the verse before it, where heaven and earth will pass away. Well, that day and hour no man knows. So that is a time appointed by the Father, not a trickster in heaven seeking to move the peg so you don't understand the time of his coming. Comes on the third day, at the third hour in the morning. That's one coming. There's another one we'll talk about connected to night watches as well. Oh boy, talk about a second Exodus and a second Passover and a second coming that'll make you forget the first one. Now that's a matter of portent, isn't it? The only time during the year that happens, connected with a midnight hour. Late in the midnight hour, Father's going to turn it around. He's commending judgment to the Son. He's going to come get the ones that belong to him as a thief in the night. Others at other times will be sealed. At no point will the left hand defeat the man at the left hand below. The left hand below defeat the right hand seated in heaven. At no point was that ever going to happen. Whatever fear you have of your city masters, see, all the city masters go to the left or they cease to be city masters. Those are your options. Well, especially when the Father, through the Assyrian, destroys the cities in which you trust. Own what you've done. You, me, we've all partaken of the abominable cup of drunkenness. Folks, you're not getting out of this unscathed. You're going to have to present yourself faultless at the time of the presenting and blameless when blame is going to be found in others, let it not be found in you. Be honest with a contrite heart and an open spirit, and let him have his way and his will in your life each day. Choose this day whom you will serve. So I think we talked about some of the other festivals. We've got the festival of Shavuot, wheat harvest. We've got the festival of new wine, 3:15 for the Shavuot, the wheat harvest, and the third day of the fifth Kodesh for the wine harvest. And then we've got the oil harvest, the festival of new oil. And as I mentioned earlier, that's 6:22. We've got the festival of wood, which occurs just prior to Yom Teruah, the day of sounding and reverberations. And then, of course, the trumpets there that are called or used for the gathering of an assembly and for the priests to come forward and the leaders of the thousands. So, going to be good stuff there. So, I look forward to going into this in much more detail. Know that just as there is one day, Rosh Hashanah, the head of the new year, there are also heads assigned to each of the days of the year, and of course connected to the stars, and one head of the 360 days of convocation. And then there's 4 days that are, of course, outside and above, and intercalary is not the right term, but excuse me, outside and above the 360 days of the, I guess some would call it a prophetic year. It's fair. But know that each day there are stars assigned to those, and then thousands of other stars behind what are called those leader stars over each of those days. And we're going to focus on his star. We're going to focus on one star. We're going to focus on one head, because we have one head, one faithful and true witness seated at the right hand of power. And isn't he good? Boy, oh boy. We're going to understand just how much he has given up. People understand that in Afghanistan. They're being beheaded and laid waste, and surely some of them, and many of them, I'm sure of it, are presenting themselves faultless, spotless, and without blemish by coming before their Maker with clean hearts, lifting up holy hands and waving their branches, being assigned the office of a tree walking. The prophet saw man as a tree walking. What is a tree walking? Well, they have branches. They lift up holy hands. They're disconnected from their root. Have you ever felt disconnected from your Father in heaven and alone? Well, Messiah said the remedy is to be put in the ground and fall to the earth. And he said, unless a kernel of wheat or a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains alone. He knows that you feel alone sometimes. He loves you. You're not alone. He is good and gracious and patient and just, not willing that any would suffer, but that all would come to repentance, to Teshuvah, to return to him. And that, of course, is squarely connected to the turns of the year. There's 4 cardinal ones. And we've been spending a good bit of time here talking about 2 bookends, I guess. One at the head of the year and the other at the tail of it. First being Rosh Hashanah, and then the latter being what Judaism calls Rosh Hashanah, being a tail, being below and not above. At the tail of the year, Yom Teruah, the day of trumpets, a sounding, rather.